Welcome to another episode of the Hustle Reports. My name's Peter Helms.
And I'm Suki, and today we are bringing you an episode called Branding. What is it?
We also have a very special guest. As usual, her name is Kate. You don't want to miss this one. She's the former CMO of Travelers and CEO of something called the Greater Hartford Arts Council. So all that and more on the Hustle Reports. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Hustle Reports. Today we're going to be talking about branding. We also have a very special guest, Kate. You don't want to miss this one. She is an expert in this, is in branding, actually. She's got a ton to say. Yeah, what's going on? Anything new?
Oh, totally. So yesterday I came across this thing online, and weirdly enough, it's just fruit with candy, but people are calling it crack grapes.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of mentioning last week. Remember when I said the candied fruit, I called it?
Yes.
I didn't know it was cracked grapes.
So I don't want to talk about it because I'm like, you know what? I need to make it first to see what all the hoopla is all about. And so I did, and it's super easy to make. But I mean,
I didn't get any.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know how it would turn out to be. It's just, you just take water, corn syrup, sugar, and you boil it over the stove. And then you put the grapes on toothpicks, dip it into this concoction, and before it starts drying, you also need a candy thermometer. It's really not that complicated. Yeah, you sprinkle it in whatever crushed candy. So Jolly Ranchers crushed, Skittles, whatever.
A little mix of all kinds of sugar.
Basically, yeah. And the whole thing got popularized down in Atlanta. There's this business called, the Crack House. It's terrible. It's a terrible name,
but
but
I've seen that place.
It's just people are so addicted to eating fruit.
Yep, there's
with
no windows
candy.
on the place, boarded up a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe you should go there and find out.
I think we're talking about a different crack house here.
Yeah, this is just candied fruit, guys. There's it's not illegal at all.
Really? So is it like that rock candy? You remember rock candy?
Yes, rock candy is very popular as a topping on this. So the reason why, this has just taken the world by storm, especially on TikTok, is because people are lining outside the crack house at 5 a.m. to get these candied fruits.
Yeah.
Especially the grapes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think dentists are going to be busy after a few years of this trend.
Yeah. So whatever your dental brand is, be prepared.
We'll have to try some. I'll try it. Sounds pretty good. I mean, it's just a bunch of sugar, grapes. I think they were also doing it with strawberries, right?
Right. Everyone knows what a chocolate-covered strawberry is.
Yeah, but this is a whole nother level.
Right. Yeah, so you could do this whole process with strawberries, apple slices, whatever you want. But the key here with these the new age way of doing it is to use the what was that candy you just said?
Rock candy.
Rock candy. Yes.
Yeah, all kinds of rock candy. Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly
I love
Ranchers,
Jolly Ranchers,
right.
by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crushed up chocolate.
Wow.
Sprinkled on.
I love entrepreneurship. So when something gets created, invented, there's probably been somebody doing this for years.
Exactly.
And then, next thing you know, social media, things start to spread around, information gets shared. Then here come the entrepreneurs.
Yep.
And that's where the magic happens. They're going to make this whole thing and deliver it to the world.
Right, and people are branding their candied fruit. It's very fascinating. I mean, this is just something that's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it's a new thing.
Well, that crack house sounds pretty addicting. No pun.
Yeah, especially with the rocks that you spoke about.
That probably isn't too funny. But
I know. But, I mean, people are doing it. I'm not making this stuff up.
Yeah, for sure. So, anywho, we have a very special guest. I don't want to keep her waiting. She's actually backstage now. So let me go ahead and bring on Kate. Kate, are you there?
I am.
Hey,
Hi, Peter.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Really glad to have you on our show today. Suki and I have been looking forward to this one.
I definitely have. I'm so excited that you're here and just your background. You are a remarkable person. What you were doing before and what you're doing now, I'm just so interested to learn so much.
Yeah.
Awesome, Suki. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your background. I know that you were the CMO, which is a big position of a Fortune 100 company, Travelers Insurance, and then the CEO of the Greater Hartford Arts Council. Is there anything else that we're missing?
Peter, I would say the first half of my career was spent in corporate. So in it actually at Travelers Insurance. So for 25 years, the last position before I retired was being the CMO for Travelers Insurance. That was I retired from Travelers in 2009. I had a number of positions prior to that in different types of businesses, so retirement planning, life insurance. There was a lot of iterations of Travelers over those decades. But I would say that I pretty much looked at and was a part of every facet of the company that you could probably imagine. Then I was ready to move on. So I took on a challenge actually in 2009 is when I became the CEO of the Greater Hartford Arts Council. And if you recall what was happening in 2008 and 2009, the world was imploding. So the crash, the economy, the markets, and the arts organizations in the Greater Hartford area were also suffering. And what is usually the first thing to go when it comes to philanthropy, individual philanthropy in a recession is things like the arts, unfortunately, because people have, there's the whole hierarchy of needs, right? So we need to focus on poverty. We need to focus on homelessness. And so I took that challenge on because actually the Arts Council supports over 150 arts, culture, and heritage organizations that actually do a lot of great work for the community and in 32 towns. And they were verging on bankruptcy at the time. And so they really needed a turnaround. So you take a chief marketing officer who also has some financial background and looking at an organization and very close to my heart. And I said, I will take it on. So I was asked by the board to step in and turn it around. And so that's what I did. Turned that around, and we can bring branding into that. There was the issue at the time was the branding was suffering because a lot of the money raised was not necessarily going out to the organizations that needed it. There was, we needed to do some trimming and transformation financially in order to maximize every single dollar that would go out towards the mission of supporting the arts community for the public. And so that's what I did in 3 years. And I then was ready to move on again. And so I started my own consulting business and worked with another company out of New York for about 5 years, really restructuring their philanthropic platform. And that was very exciting. And again, they were trying to tie their brand, their business brand in with their philanthropic giving. So it was a very exciting time to be a part of that. And since then, I've been doing some work, some teaching in a master's program, building programs, coaching, and working with small businesses and entrepreneurs. I've helped people start businesses and help people grow them.
Wow.
So that's my background in a nutshell.
Wow. A lot of great stuff there. Looks like you saved the arts in the Greater Hartford area.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a very difficult time. And the organization is 40, 50, it's probably 50 years old now. And, it needed some transformation. And that's the thing is, I know you talk a lot on Hustle Nation about innovation and entrepreneurship. And, sometimes entrepreneurship, it can be entrepreneurial, right? So you need to, if you're in an organization, you still need to be innovative in how you move the organization forward. And that's a really important thing for people to keep in mind, whether they're running their own business or whether they're leading within a business.
Awesome, awesome. So when you said there was some branding involved with it, how did that all come about? A lot of people out there may not know exactly what branding means. They might automatically think of just graphic design or what the color palette of the company looks like. But it
Yeah.
sounds like branding's a lot more than that. Could you talk a little bit about what it meant for the turnaround? Uh,
Yeah, sure. Let me start basically, if I can, Peter, just discussing what branding means to me.
Mhm.
And you'll find a variety of definitions. There's plenty of places to look and ask different people. So this is my take. I have worked with branding for my entire career, and for me, branding. Here's what branding is not. Okay, branding is not a logo. It's not a tagline. It's not your marketing plan. It's not your strategic plan. It's not advertising. It's not a mission statement, and it's not your elevator pitch. So if it's none of those, what is it? Well, it's an intrinsic energy, if I can say that. So branding is energy. It's a living, breathing thing, and you have to own it. So for example, if it's personal branding, so if you're an entrepreneur and you're the only person in your business, your personal brand is probably going to be synonymous with your business branding, because it's the soul, it's the character, it's everything that you value and believe in, and that gets translated to your customers and your stakeholders, whoever those stakeholders may be. And it's translated in a way that is perceived by the customer. So that's what's important to understand here. You can say my brand is X, but your customers and your stakeholders are the ones who actually will tell you whether or not that's truly how you present yourself as a company. So personally, it's actually fairly straightforward. But then institutionally, now, if you're in a situation where you've, again, a small business, you've got employees or you have contractors, they need to be and live and breathe that same energy for your business.
Like a
So
company
it's almost
culture
like
type
having
thing?
a family. It's almost like being in a family. That's really, to me, that is what a brand should be all about.
It's a whole vibe. That's what that
It
sounds like.
is. It is. It's a
Yes.
culture that is also created, and there are lots of organizations out there. If you're entrepreneurial, you get the chance to create it, which is awesome. That you're starting, you create your culture.
Yeah.
I have seen a number of relatively small organizations that have amazing cultural. Uh, they've built it. Cultural transformation is much more complicated. So once you create that culture from within, and that's how you are represented to the public, it's very difficult to change it, because you really have to change perception.
That could be an
Yeah.
uphill battle, especially at scale with a large organization like Travelers or Greater Hartford Arts Council.
Right.
How does one go about doing that if there is, some rebranding that needs to take place and a change of perception? What are some ways that's done with large companies?
Well, I'll tell you, and this is true for, again, I'm no longer at Travelers, but I am still a customer and I'm still a stakeholder. That is an amazing company. There's an emotional connection with customers. So what does that mean? Well, the most important position in a company like that, any company like that where service and claims are really what your product is. I mean, you're purchasing insurance to protect your assets, to protect yourself, to protect your family, to preserve the money you've built for your retirement, even in that case, if it's a different type of insurance. But at the time you need the company is at claim time. And that's when a customer is in the most vulnerable position. And that's when the brand really stands out. And so customer service the service that you deliver to your customers is probably the most important facet of a culture and a brand.
Wow, I think that's a shift in people's perception who may be watching this, because branding oftentimes gets thought of as the logo, the design, but also maybe just the promotional material or like
Right.
the advertising message that goes out. But what you're
Correct.
talking about is the point of value. Where's the point of value in our service? And at that point, that's where our brand needs to come forth the most. And it sounds like you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and that's a great way to position it. It's the point of value. And you and I had talked previously about a transactional economy. And there are so many transactional businesses out there today, and they're going to come and go. Transactions are just things that need to happen, but it's the relationship that you have with a human being on the other end that is really critical. Because as I mentioned, when you think about a period of time, for example, things are pretty rough in Texas right now, and they've been rough in many states for many reasons. But I just think that's a current thing. And, there are people that are going to be in need of some of the services that they purchased or the products that they purchased they're now going to call in and they're going to say, I need help. And that's when it matters. That's when the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely. We talk about the example of Tony Hsieh, who is no longer with us, but one of the
Yes.
things he did very well over at Zappos was to create this culture that was all about, a strong relationship between the brand and the customer. That
Yeah.
you could literally just call them and not even have a transaction to make. You wouldn't even be buying shoes, and they were all trained up to say, just talk to them on the phone. Just talk
Exactly.
to them on the phone, because in the long run, when it does come time to purchase, they're going to have a positive experience, and people love to share positive experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a similar, a small company actually that has been growing. You might be interested in checking it out if anyone is a wine drinker. It's called Dry Farm Wines. They're out of California, and they're a distributor of very small vineyards wine. So for example, around the world, there are a lot of small vineyards, and these individuals can't create their own distribution. It's just it's just not economically sound for them to do that. They can't possibly do it and survive, but they enjoy making wine. So here comes this brand new innovative, it's not brand new anymore, but brand new innovative company called Dry Farm Wines. And first of all the wines are organic, and they source them from all of these small vineyards all over the world. And they are, I want to say, simply the distributor. But I got to tell you, if you take a look at their culture, and you mentioned something, Peter, about saying, it's not a mission statement, it's not a communication, it's not a brochure. Well, people can put all these things on their brochures and communications and emails saying, please tell us what you think. Please tell us how you feel about us. But if they don't actually deliver on that, then it's just a piece of paper. It's just an email. It's just words. So this is a company, for example, that does deliver. They give their people the autonomy to make decisions in a snap. If somebody's dissatisfied, immediately they get a replacement. And again, some might say, wow, that could lead to some losses, because what if people take advantage of you? Well, that can happen. And we saw that with LL Bean when they switched, not taking, everything back that you ever purchased, because people started to take advantage. But they're certainly a well-established company, and it's not going to hurt them. But companies like this, to grow, you're building a customer base who does appreciate you. You're building an alliance. You're building a partnership with your customers. And it's very, very important, especially in the early stages, to make that investment. Now, you will find eventually that there will be people who will take advantage of the fact that you've got this giving nature and giving culture, that you give people the benefit of the doubt 100% of the time. But you'll be a little bigger by then, and you can figure that out, and you can deal with it differently. So love their website, because when they're hiring people, you talk about culture, they tell you exactly what you need. They're a family. They're not a business. They're a family. That's the way they explain it. So that's just another example, but a relatively newer and a different sector than Zappos, but very similar.
Nice, nice. What was it called again?
It's called Dry Farm Wines.
Definitely need to check them out.
Dryfarmwines.com. Yes.
Yeah, I love when I hear stories of businesses doing it right, because there is a right way and a wrong way to do branding, I believe. Yep. And Amazon is a good example of what you had just mentioned. I remember the first time I picked up the phone, I had trouble with my order, and I was kind of adverse to ordering online. I was one of these people who I like to go into the store and make my selection and have it in my hands and bring it out the door. So I gave Amazon a try, and I had to make a return. And I just remember there was no questions, ifs, ands, or buts about it. They gave me my refund before I even sent anything back. And it developed this, trust between the brand and the customer, where it's like, man, I could totally just not return my product. They just gave me my refund already. They were so nice about it.
Right.
And it really changed the game for me with ordering online. I didn't need to go wait in a line at a store and deal with somebody who's dissatisfied with their job. The person was genuinely happy to hear me call with a refund. It was insane. And so
exactly. And that's your perception. So your perception is what ends up defining that brand.
For sure.
They can demonstrate it, so then you have to feel it as the customer. And then your brand has been translated to your customer.
So true. And social media is a really good way to understand what the customers think. Nowadays, everything's on a rating system, a review system. And if a company really pays attention to that, they get a great source of information when they're doing things right, but also an opportunity to correct things when they're not getting it right.
Exactly.
People are vocal out there on the internet.
They certainly are.
Yeah.
They certainly are.
Excellent. So we always like to ask the people who come on to our show to recommend a few books if they could. Are there any books to an aspiring entrepreneur, or maybe even a business leader who's just needs some fresh insights? Are there any books out there you'd recommend?
Yeah, so there's one book that in particular that I think, as we're talking about branding, that I would recommend, and it's What Great Brands Do is the name of the book, and it's by Denise Yohn. It's Yohn, and she's a speaker and a consultant, and she travels the world talking about branding, and she is definitely one of the experts. But the book is very straightforward and simple to read. And again, that's one of the things I love about it. So it's not complex and going into all these different formulas about how to create your brand. It's almost like there's 7 or 8 steps. That's it. And the most important thing, again, I go back to, is living and breathing it every day. It's not about what you put out there in words. And that's what people will see in this book. There's another resource really that I do use for entrepreneurs. I think it's a great resource. It's called mindtools.com. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No, I haven't heard of this one. Mindtools.com.
Mindtools.com, right. So all, no space, Mindtools, Tools. And they have a very, very up-to-date current articles on pretty much every topic a business owner could want to know, including branding.
Oh, I'm bookmarking this one actually right now as we speak. This looks great.
Yeah, I need this in my life. The more mind tools, the better.
Right. It's a mind
really?
tool. Yeah. It's been it's an awesome site. And of course, there's always Harvard Business Review, but I always find something like this, Mind Tools, is just very down to earth,
Yeah.
straightforward. And actually that's where I first learned about the book that I just told you about.
Neat.
Excellent. Yeah. So I just kind of want to ask. A lot of times people think of I want to go to the CMO position that you held at Travelers. That's a big position to hold, and I think oftentimes in marketing people don't understand what that even means. They just know it's like this title or this status. What is the work that goes into being a CMO? What's that like?
Well, it really depends on where the company is at whatever period of time. So, so that will depend upon what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the world. It really will depend. At the time that I was the CMO at Travelers, it was pre 2009. So we were getting the word out. There was the return of the red umbrella, which everybody knew as Travelers, and there's a long story behind that, but we don't have time. Let's just say the red umbrella was the logo and is the logo that everybody knew. And through mergers, acquisitions, and divestitures over the years, the red umbrella ended up going to Citigroup. And getting that back, just that to be able to use that really helped to define a period of time where there was a merger. At the time there was St. Paul Travelers, and so again, whenever there's mergers or acquisitions, it's a really important time to step back and look at what it is that you need to do to make sure that your customers know, and your employees, actually, let me get back to that. Employees first, know where you're going and make sure they're with you. Make sure they're in that seat right with you, right next to you. And so that's what we were doing at the time was really focusing on culture. We were combining cultures of two companies. We were, I would say, rebranding, not that the logo is the brand, but there was a rebranding time, coming back to you're better off under the umbrella, and really helping the organization in the field. The field force is of 5,000 people in the field who are underwriters at the time, and helping them understand and to buy into what is this culture going to look like, especially, as I said, at the time, merging two companies, we had just come off that. And that was a big deal. It was really, really important. And also really philanthropically needing to align your philanthropic giving with what's important to your business. And I think that's a very important element. And it was at the time. And I think that the company does an amazing job of that today.
As you were talking about that and talking about the employees, this, message came to my mind that branding starts at home.
Yes.
And, I just listening to you, it's so true that the people who work within your company, those are going to be the brand ambassadors as they go about their lives, both on the clock and off the clock. So
yes.
It really starts, if you're going to convey what the company represents, it all starts with the people at home. So,
right.
That was a moment of realization for me just now.
Very, very important.
For sure. So anything, Suki, you wanna add to this, or?
Yeah, I just want to say I love that little red umbrella, and I can't imagine anyone being opposed to it coming back. Did you have any resistance?
Well, again, when we were talking about merging, there was a merger of two companies,
right?
And it wasn't so much resistance about coming back. It was, I think, employees back in that time in 2006, 2007, we're wondering, okay, what are we going to be going forward, and what do we stand for? And again, when you merge companies and merge leadership, and it's always very concerning for employees, but Travelers always did a great job of communicating. And when I say communicating, I mean communicating and being heard by their employees, and employees engaging and actually then living that. So the umbrella was simply, that was a logo, but it was definitely it defined who the company was, right? You're better off. It defines protection.
Yes.
So everything that was rolled out after that, getting that umbrella back, had to do with the emotional connection between the customer and the company, and that we're here to protect you. That's what the message was.
Right. When I first started seeing the umbrella on billboards and ads, driving through Hartford, not being even familiar with what the company was when I first moved out to Connecticut, I just really liked how it made me feel safe and secure.
Exactly.
And I was so curious and drawn to this little red umbrella.
Yeah.
That I looked up the company and I'm like, oh, this is great. But, without that umbrella, I wouldn't have been that curious to go
Sure.
about.
And those are the things that you put out there, right?
Yeah.
You put out messages, you put out subliminal messages, you put out logos, and if they stick for, a number of years, look at Nike, look, I mean, any time you put a logo out there, and if it sticks, there's a perception that goes with that. And then it comes back to, what are we delivering? What are we actually delivering that defines us? And that's why, like you said, I love that red umbrella. Well, maybe you don't know the company that well, but you would love it if you did.
Right. I don't even need to know the company that well, and I already love it.
Right?
Just by looking at it.
Yeah.
So we always also ask our guests, if you have any questions for us, you can ask us pretty much anything. We're open book here. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. So I'd love to know what Hustle Nation is. What's your brand? Sure. I can tell you what I perceive so far, but I'd be interested to hear from you.
Actually, I was just going to say, based on this conversation, I need to be asking you and our listeners what Hustle Nation is. But what I'd like it to be is a culture of entrepreneurship who gets inspired to go out and take action on their ideas, no matter what stage of the business that they're in. A lot of times it's just this. So the Hustle Nation is the people. The Hustle Reports is the podcast. That's where we give practical advice, not so much the theory and the framework and the 30,000 foot view stuff, but the actionable items that they can do today, which is what we do every episode. We really, every time we're coming up with things to talk about, we're like, is it practical? That is like our key question when we're coming up with content, is what can someone do today? So we try to really give as much advice as we can from our own experience, but then we like to bring on guests and give them a platform to there's people out there like yourself who have such great insights to share, and that I know early on for me, if I could just get a glimpse of that insight, of those insights, it would help me tremendously. I often say in college that you do learn all the framework, but if you're going to school for business, I would almost recommend just paying someone in the C-suite the same amount of money to follow them around for a year or two, and you'd get so much more than you would from formal education.
Yeah, that is very true. And so your description of the brand as you see it is very much my perception, at least, just having looked at some episodes and being with you and Suki today. And it's very conversational. It's very practical. It's very easy. I feel that that's what people need. People need to have conversation, and they need to get some practical, real, grounded guidance.
And I'm really big on building relationships with people and connecting.
Yes, very important. That is the number one. People will. I've done presentations on sales and leadership and marketing and communications and performance management and conflict resolution. And I will tell you, the common ground with everything is relationships, personally and professionally. That's it.
So true.
Secret to life.
It is. It's the secret to life.
It
Yeah,
is.
and it is. Relationships are important.
Yeah.
I was amazed when I met Suki. She I heard about her a lot in Norwich, Connecticut, and the work she had been doing. And just in such a short time, in like 2 years, when I met her, she knows everybody everywhere we go. Everybody knows her as well, and you can tell there's like a meaningful connection in every conversation she has. So she's definitely got the relationship management piece down for sure. I'm learning so much from her as well, and I know at the core, Philip Kotler, who was like the go-to for me when it comes to marketing. He's not the most razzy guy, but I found him when I was in college. I opened up my marketing textbook and I went to the credits and I was like, who wrote this? That's the guy I want to read about. All this other stuff, I want to read about him. And so
Right.
he talks a lot about relationship-based marketing and how, it's all about just establishing that good value exchange. And sometimes it's just a conversation.
Sure. Exactly right.
Yeah.
That is exactly right.
Yeah, yesterday it was actually really funny because I ran into two people I haven't seen in a long time, and I've probably only had 3.5-minute conversations with them at least once. So one of the people that we ran into was on Franklin Street in downtown Norwich, which is about 100 feet away. And after I stopped and talked to this guy, Peter was like, how do you know him from? And I'm like, oh, I've only met him a couple of times. And he's like, but you knew everything about him. You knew about his kid, his mom, his dad, where he lived, where he came from, what he was doing, what he ate. And I'm like, well, I get a lot of things done in like 1.8 minutes. And then the other girl that we ran into, it was when we went through the drive-thru at Dunkin' Donuts. And we were just having maybe a 7-minute conversation while getting iced coffees. And we left there. And I told Peter I had only met her 1.5 times. The half time was just like a, hey, how's it going? But we only had one real conversation. And once again, he was just blown away with, how do you even know all this information about this person?
Right. And that is, you bring up a very good point and a very important one about, I know this isn't a networking conversation,
Yeah.
but people have to understand networking is about building relationships, not about working a room.
Mm-hmm.
So, over the 37 years that I've been in business, I've had a lot of networking opportunities. Pretty much if I'm going to be an hour in a room, whether it's cocktail reception or a meeting or something with somebody, I will find just one or two people and I will talk with them and learn about them.
Yes.
And over periods of time, you can do that. And now you've built a solid foundation. So like you just said, Suki, when you go back and you see that person, you know about their family, you know about everything that's going on, and you can actually have an informed conversation, and you do build a relationship that way. It's not about saying, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? Exchanging business cards, that kind of thing. It's really a much deeper.
Right. Yeah, I'm really into like forming deep, meaningful relationships with people because in the long run, it just brings so much more value than having an empty, very surface relationship.
Right. And Peter, you talked about at the very beginning, you mentioned, branding being a much broader concept, and, just coming full circle, it's really a deeper concept, right? It's deep. It's very deep. And that's what we need with branding, you need to go deep and not wide.
Depth, not width. I love it. That's it in a nutshell. That is what branding is. So we really, truly appreciate you for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was the best, and I look forward to our next conversation. Always a pleasure to hear from you. It had been a while, and so it was nice to reconnect. So thanks for coming on our show.
Yeah, maybe we could do another show on networking since you started that. now you have me in.
All right, Suki, you got it. Take care, guys. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Oh, she's great.
She's
I
excellent.
love her.
Yeah, she's an expert for sure. 37 years
37
in the field.
years.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah.
Really knows her stuff at all levels, and so personable. right?
So personal. Yeah, I could probably, she's one of those people, I could sit in a room with her like all day, every day, and never get tired of whatever it is that she's talking about.
Right. Wait till you meet her in person. I mean,
Oh
this
my
is
God,
on
yeah.
Zoom, just to think.
Right? Yeah, on Zoom, I felt like we formed kind of a connection. I mean, not kind of, like definitely, but in person, just being able to experience that human, just real life experience, it brings that relationship to another level. So
100%. So I'd like to dive right into the hustle reports and talk about branding a little bit more. You know, now we have, you know, a lot of context for the conversation. So simply put, I think branding is your promise to your customer.
true. Yeah, because you could have whatever you want, like she said, on paper, flyers, you know, anything you want. And you could put all these great messages, but when the customer receives your product or service or meets you and there isn't a match, there is zero value in that.
100%. There's like this disconnection between what the company's offering is and the actual value delivered.
Right.
Yeah.
And to just put it bluntly, you guys, that if there's no value, then that's mistrust. And people will feel tricked and scammed, and they just don't want to have anything to do with you because it's too obscure. And obscurity is the, what's that thing
Enemy
you
of
say?
success. Yeah, obscurity is your biggest enemy in business.
Yeah.
People don't know about you, or at least have heard about you, and they should be hearing good things. Then you're fighting an uphill battle.
Right.
So I want to give some tips here. I love giving tips, practical stuff.
Okay.
What can someone do to build their brand in a successful way?
Okay.
All right. So number one, I think they have to first define what their brand is. You can't even think about what channel you're going to choose. Am I going to get my message out on social media, or is it going to be when people call in? Are we going to make sure that we communicate our message? I think defining the brand first and how you want to be perceived by others. And as Kate mentioned, maybe even seeing how others perceive you already.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, like, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think that's really true about everything that you were saying. And it's really important because we're back to square one. If you don't do that, then it's just basically living a life of lies to your customers. And you don't want to do that.
Definitely not. So write down a definition. Find out what it is that you want people, you know, what is it that you want people to perceive you as in your personal brand, in your business brand, in your clothing brand, whatever it is. Come up with that definition of how you want to be perceived, and then go out and ask potential customers or existing customers if it matches up. That's a very practical thing you could do to define your brand.
Right. And then after defining it, don't you need some kind of organization?
Yeah. So once you have that, and hopefully it matches up. If not, be willing to change it, right? It's not always about how you want others to perceive your company or brand. Take that feedback, craft your promise now. So craft your promise and say, this is our promise to our customers. Maybe it's, you know, for example, that we want to make sure that we let our customers know we care, or we want to make sure that we are a source of fashionable and trending information or clothing. Maybe it's we want to make sure that we are the fastest delivery service. We deliver, you know, the fastest, other than above everybody else. And then communicate that promise. Once you've landed on it, find ways to communicate it. Maybe it's when people call in, like she said, or maybe it's, you know, out on social media, in videos, in a podcast. Find different ways to communicate that product. Promise. Ads.
Right. Or stickers.
Yeah, absolutely. Stickers. So I actually want to point out these stickers. So there's a lot of different stickers you can get. And these just say the hustle reports, right? I want to talk about the brand of the sticker. So it's not just the logo, the typography, the color. These are high quality stickers that we've been giving out to people. The difference between this and any other sticker is when you put it, it's got a different feel to it. So there's actual balance. Like, man, this is a high quality sticker. And when they put it on, let's say they put it on the back of their laptop or something, right? They want to put it there. It's not going to wear. These are very high quality stickers. It's not going to wear or tear. You can put it outside. It's weatherproof, rainproof. all of that is delivering quality and value just in a piece of promotional material.
Right. Listen, you
What's
could
that
put
say
these
about the brand?
things. You could put these things on water bottles and coffee mugs that you could run through your dishwasher. That's how good of a quality these things are.
Right. So what's that say about the brand, the Hustle Reports? If I just delivered like the cheapest stickers I could find, just be like, here you guys go. What does that say about the brand?
It's a throwaway brand if you do that. But this is a quality sticker, so that means that the report that we give to people is a quality report.
Exactly, because we do want to give good practical advice, expert advice that we know you can use and grow your company.
Right, which leaves you with the last thing that you need to talk about being
Consistent.
yes.
You've got me trained on this one. We went over this and she was like, we really wanted to hone it down and fine tune it. And at the last one we were struggling. What is it? And really it came down to is consistency.
Yeah, you just got to keep on doing what you're doing because you believe in it, and you got to keep on communicating that to the customers over and over and over again.
You don't want to confuse them, right? If you start
Yeah.
confusing your customers and one day they hear a brand message that's this, the next day they hear that, there's going to be like, they need to figure it out first. There's going to be that disconnect.
Right.
So let's go through an exercise. So first, I want to use like an example. Let's do like a mock business, and we'll help people define their brand.
Okay, all right.
Let's do a
So
mock
we're
business.
really going to do an exercise right now.
Right now, get your pens and
Okay,
papers
okay.
out, and we're gonna go through a series of questions, and we're gonna create, I don't know, like a sock delivery service or something.
Okay, so this is kind of like self-discovery in business, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so say, for example, my name is Tommy Cack, and I have socks, and I'm from Boston.
Okay, so Tommy Cack from Boston.
Oh, I know. Okay, the business name is called Cack Socks.
Got it. So it's Cax and Sacks
Yeah.
from Boston.
Right.
You gotta be kidding me. This is too much. Hold on.
No, like Boston Red Sox. So
Okay.
SOX. Yes. Okay, so my name's
All right.
Tommy Cack.
All right, let's talk about this one. So this is Cax Sacks.
Yeah. And I'm from Dorchester.
Dorchester.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not making fun of guys from Dorchester.
No, this is part of,
Yeah.
the brand. Okay, so
It's all the brand.
and Tommy's neighbors of like the Wahlbergs. Like Marky Mark and his brother grew up next door to him.
Yeah, no, socks are a big thing
Okay.
though.
Yeah.
And Mark Wahlberg needs socks. Everybody needs socks.
Everyone needs socks. People in Dorchester need
Okay,
socks.
so what's
Okay.
the brand for Cax Sacks?
Sock delivery service for high quality, fun socks in the middle of the night.
Got it. High quality socks, middle of the night.
Yeah.
Why the middle of the night though?
Because when you wake up in the morning and you open your door, there's going to be some freaking socks there that are clean and fun and colorful with a funny
Actually-
message.
Actually, that's really good. It's got a sense of humor to it, so
Yeah.
people it's fun.
You want someone to wake up in the morning and really look forward to getting a box of socks left on their doorstep.
Everybody needs socks. Fresh socks,
Yeah.
first thing in the morning.
Whole
from Cax
free.
Socks.
Yeah.
So it's delivered in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. So that's the brand. It's fun.
Get your cack sacked in the middle of the night.
That's perfect. All right, so guys, we're having fun with this here, right? This is something.
You
good.
said we're going to do an exercise, so here we go.
So
All right.
We're busy making this sock delivery service,
Yes.
and so we first want to define how the brand wants to be perceived.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be? We already have the company mission, right? We know it's a fun company. It meets a need. People need to put fresh socks on every morning. It's got a funny thing to it. It's humorous, so it grabs people's attention. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's important to have high quality socks,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we need to have high quality socks, fast delivery. Yeah, I think that's part of the mission right there.
What do you think of the slogan? Get your cack sacked in the middle of the night.
That's a good one. Yeah. A little risque, but hey, why not? I think it'll grab attention.
That's the name of the brand, though, right?
Yeah. It's the name of the brand. Just saying.
And you're getting them in the middle of the night.
That's right. That's right. So, all right. So let's talk about the benefits. So here's another question you can ask as you're developing your brand. So now we have the mission. We know what the company's about, this sock delivery service. The next thing that you can ask is, what are the benefits and features of the socks themselves, of the service? Because it's not just about the socks, it's also about the service.
Yeah, you don't have to go to a store to go get socks. Like, you don't have to go out of your way. You don't even need to think about it. The socks come to you. You always need socks, especially men. You know what? The target market is going to be men between the ages of 21-ish to like 55. Basically, guys with jobs that need a little fun in their life, but they sometimes can't just like, wear a very obnoxious t-shirt.
The sock market, I actually looked this up. The sock market is like $78 billion. Just the sock market.
Okay,
That's
the growth for socks predicted between whatever it is, 2019 to 2025 or something. It's on this trend of like 6.7% growth. Yeah.
So it would be high quality socks delivered to men. Guys, get your cack sacks.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, first thing in the morning, when you wake up, you'll have them delivered at your door.
Or when you wake up, get your cack sack.
All right, exactly. I think you. All right, so what
you actually have it. You can say it better than me in your like little Boston accent.
Dorchester. I'm not from Dorchester. Mark Wahlberg says, "Get your cacks." He does not say that, guys. I'm just.
But he can.
He could say it. He could be the spokesperson.
He totally could. Okay, what would he say?
Get your cack sacks.
When? In the morning or in the middle of the night? Which one?
You're having too much fun with this. All right, guys. Okay. The idea here is what qualities. I'm ruining fun. I'm like, you're having too much fun. No more fun.
You're the what are you? The fun police?
I'm the fun police. Yeah.
Okay.
So. All right, so now you guys get the idea. We went through this exercise, and it was a fun one. But at the end of the day, we just came up with this hypothetical business, and now we know the brand. It's fun, high quality, delivering socks to your door. It meets a real need. We know men want fresh socks in the morning.
They can't be bothered by going to some store to get them. Who cares? They're busy making money and going to work.
It saves them time. So you really emphasize that. And so now in all the messaging, when you're communicating it, you're really emphasizing those things. So there we go.
Well, let's see if by doing this exercise it really does fall into the 4 steps to building a brand.
Okay, go ahead. What are they?
Define how you want to be perceived, organize your business based on this promise, communicate your promise, and be consistent. Did we cover all of that?
Yeah, consistently. Cack sacks delivered at your door. First thing in the morning.
And in the middle of the night.
Even in the middle of the night.
What if I told you I knew someone named Tommy Cax?
Is there a guy named Tommy Cack?
I can't tell you that.
All right. Well, you guys got to look it up. So, anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to another great episode of the Hustle Reports, where we love to just develop a culture of entrepreneurship by sharing practical advice with you guys from us and some amazing guests, as you've seen today. That's pretty much what we got.
And get your cat sacks.
Make sure to check us out on Forward TV, FWRD, and no, that does not stand for the F word. It's forward because we're forward thinking and we're the All People Network. Check us out on YouTube. That's where you can find all of the content for the Hustle Reports. If you want the audio experience, make sure you check us out on Spotify, Pandora, and Apple iTunes. So that's all we have for today, guys. The best is yet to come, my friends.
Take care, everyone. See you next time.
And don't forget to get your cack sacks.